Omaha's news leader, chronicling the stories and people making a difference in our community. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob McCartney. On Monday, June 9th, for the first time since 2013, Omaha will have a new mayor. Last month, nearly 94,000 Omahans went to the polls to elect their city leaders. City council seats and the mayorship were up for grabs, and that's when history was made. Douglas County Treasurer John W. Ewing Jr. defeated incumbent Mayor Gene Stothert. He got nearly 57% of the vote, almost 13,000 more votes. Ewing led throughout election night, culminating in the speech where he claimed victory.
To the people of Omaha, thank you for placing your trust in me to lead our city into a brighter future. This victory is not mine alone. It belongs to every resident of the city of Omaha, to those who volunteered, donated, and voted. Your dedication has made this moment possible.
And that was just part of John Ewing Jr.'s victory speech on election night. And joining us now to talk about the victory and his plans for office is Mayor-elect Ewing. Congratulations.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me as well.
Now, as we're sitting here, there are still several days until you actually take office. It's a busy time for you, so I appreciate you taking time to come in. A couple questions first about the election. Gene Stothert campaigned hard to keep the job. You campaigned hard. That night you said we worked and we worked and we worked and we worked and
yes,
we worked.
we did.
Right. Have you analyzed your victory, why you easily won?
I believe a big part of it was that people have seen me in this community my entire life, but especially the last 43 years as a public servant. And I believe that helped carry the day. I believe also that people were looking for a change, and that's not to knock the Gene Stothert at all, but I think when you have been in office 12 years in such a high-profile office, then there's going to be some of that we want change.
Right. Election night, you told us that you always wanted to be an example for young people, so they can believe that their dreams are possible. You are Omaha's first black mayor. It's 2025. Doesn't it seem strange that we're just now marking this milestone?
It does a little bit, and you know, I try to recognize that it's my responsibility to be a role model for all of our young people, but I really don't focus on the negative very much. I'm a person that looks at the positive. Doesn't matter if it was 2019, 1976, or 2025, I'm here. We're going to do a great job working with the people of this community.
All right. Now, Gene Stothert said she was disappointed in voter turnout. Governor Pillen said he was disappointed that conservatives didn't show up. Did that play a role in your victory, do you think?
I don't believe so. I believe, quite honestly, if you look at the turnout for elections, for city of Omaha elections, it's pretty close to 94 to 98,000 votes every time. I think the bigger issue is the timing of the elections and whether or not you want to tie them to November elections, especially for governor and some of the county and statewide offices, then you'll get more turnout.
Gotcha. Do you want to do that, do you think?
Well, that's one of the things that was before the legislature, and to be quite honest, I have not paid attention to know if in fact it passed. I've been so busy.
Other things on your plate. So let's talk about the transition. You had said that you wanted to sit down with Mayor Stothert to talk about the transition. Has that happened?
We are looking to try to get that set up. She was out of town for a vacation last week. I was out of town for a vacation last week as well. So we're going to see if we can get that done this week.
Do you expect the
offer was made by her.
You think it'll happen?
Yes.
Okay. Have you gone through the budget yet?
I have not. Right now, Mayor Stothert is working on the budget as one of her last responsibilities, and then early next week I'll get a chance to take a look at it as well.
Yeah, because she said it's going to be your budget. I mean, it's the mayor's budget.
Yes.
So you ready for that?
Yes.
Okay. What have you done so far?
Well, I've met with a lot of people in this community, leaders in the community in particular. We're sitting down with city council members. We're sitting down with business leaders. We're sitting down with philanthropic leaders. We're sitting down with the chamber. And when I say we're, I'm including my chief of staff, Tom Warren, in all of those meetings, because that's how I want to govern, is I want my chief of staff to be heavily involved with the decision-making process.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Tom Warren was in Stothart's administration. Is that odd that he would become your chief of staff?
No, not when you know our relationship. We've known each other for almost our entire life. We worked very closely at the police department together. We've done a lot of things in the community as well. And I know him as one of the most competent people to ever lead in this city, and certainly of the highest integrity, and brings just a ton of wisdom and insight into this community as well as government.
Okay. Right after the election, you told us your priority list is public safety, affordable housing, economic development, addressing street issues. Just want to go through a couple of those. But that last one, street issues, a lot of people we talk to want the streets to be repaired, and they want them repaired yesterday, right?
Sure.
What are you going to do when you get in office, and how soon can it happen?
Well, one of the things I am going to do is talk to the Public Works Director about something I saw when I was on vacation. We went on a short trip in another Midwestern city, and I literally was looking for potholes and didn't see any.
Okay.
So what I want to do is have them reach out to that city and say, hey, what are you doing in terms of the formulation of your street repairs and things like that that alleviate the potholes? And then try to incorporate whatever they're doing. The second thing I really want to do is make sure that we are communicating effectively with the people, because work is being done, but they just don't know where it's being done. So if people know where the work is being done and they see that there's progress, then they'll be more supportive of the effort.
Was that other city, was it in the same type of climate that
Yes.
Omaha is? Okay. Public safety, let's talk police staffing. You've brought that up, and you said it's critical to get back to that full staffing. Have you figured out how to do that?
I have not figured out how to do that. I have had conversations with Todd Schmaderer and also Deb Sander, the Human Resources Director, about things we can do. And they're already in the process of hiring a class.
Right.
So not much I can do right there when they're already in that process. But what I really want to look at is being a little more creative. I think a lot of times we do the same things, and then when conditions change, we don't always adjust. So I'd like to look at things like retention bonuses, signing bonuses, and be like the business community and compete a little bit for the people we want to be on the job. As well as I mentioned during the campaign, the possibility of having cadets that would actually come in and do some of the work that really doesn't need a trained law enforcement professional. And then that alleviates some of their work and also makes more officers available for the more serious radio calls and things of that nature.
One of Gene Stothart's additions was that of a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. Right now it's Keith Station. What's your plan there? Do you plan to keep Keith? Do you plan to keep the office?
Well, we're going to have a press conference on Wednesday afternoon to talk about all of the people that are going to be retained and a couple of additions and things of that nature. But I do plan on continuing that effort. Now, we may have to look at how we structure it, but I think it's critically important that we have a city that is inclusive, and we have a city that works for all of the people in this community. I just believe the more we can do that, then the more we can retain our young professionals in particular, because that's what they're looking for. They want a city that is inclusive. They want a city that works for everybody. They want an economy that works for everybody. So that's critically important.
And while we're sitting here, we should tell folks that this is actually being recorded prior to then. So you're going to see this Sunday morning, but we actually talked earlier in the week. So that's the reason that came up there. Economic development, you were critical of Crossroads Development. Have you met with folks there yet?
I am going to be meeting with them as well on I think June 16th.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about the progress. They're going to give me an update, and then I'm going to see what I can do to help them get that project done. I just believe we have to get things done, because if we don't, people lose confidence in their government. And so I think it's critically important that we get it done, and I'm going to do everything I can to help them get it done. And
Well, I have the same question for the Civic Auditorium, the site of the old Civic Auditorium.
I did have a brief email conversation with the principal of the company that owns that on Monday, June 2nd.
Right.
And we are going to set up a meeting so we can talk about that as well. And I have some other thoughts on the grocery store and things that I've been working on for over a year, but I wasn't mayor. So now maybe we can get it done.
One more question before we move into the next section or segment. Mayor Stothert repeatedly pointed out that Forbes has Omaha was the #1 city to move to. What kind of pressure does that put on you to keep us at that ranking?
I'm okay with that. I'm glad we are, but I want us to be even better. And so my goal is to look at how we can be even better. I'm used to being under pressure. I tell people, when you've been at the Omaha Police Department and you had to make life and death decisions, the rest of this is a little bit easier because it's not quite the same level of seriousness.
True. All right, well, next on KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle, you get to ask the questions. We went around the city, and now Omaha's mayor-elect shares his answers for the issues that you care about. We'll be right back.